So, good evening, everybody. I want to welcome you all to the public hearing tonight. My name is Buddy Hance. I'm president of the Board of County Commissioners, and I have with me tonight Commissioner Mike Hart, Commissioner Kelly McConkey, Commissioner Chris Gadway, and Commissioner Weems is zooming in here. So we'll see if he can make that connection. So at this time, the chair would entertain a motion to reconvene our meeting.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we reconvene.
I have a motion and a second that we reconvene the board meeting of the Calvert County Commissioners on March 15th, 2022. Any discussion on that meeting? Motion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Attorney, I believe the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. The Board of County Commissioners received a petition from the Drum Point Property Owners Association. So let me give you some background on why that petition came in. Section 4-101 through 4-104 of the Public Local Laws of Calvert County allow a qualifying homeowners association to petition the county commissioners to create a special district tax. Those districts may fund the cost of furnishing and providing special privileges or benefits to the persons in the district. And the Drum Point Property Owners Association qualifies as such a homeowners association, and in fact has had a special district that was taxed since July 1, 2004. That district expires on June 30th, 2022, absent any action being taken by the board. The current levy is $115 per annum per lot. Discussion: the Drum Point Property Owners Association has petitioned the county to extend the Drum Point special district tax, assessing a special tax upon all properties in the Drum Point community in the amount of $175 per year for the next 5 years. The collections would be used by the Drum Point Property Owners Association to fund improvements for the benefit of the owners within that subdivision, and a public hearing was duly advertised and scheduled for this evening. Fiscal impact to the county is none. And at the conclusion, recommendation after having accepted public comment is requested that the board close the record and adopt a motion. That motion would include 6 parts: that the term of the special tax district for Drum Point be extended through June 30, 2027, that the annual levy be $175 per lot per year, excluding those lots owned by the Drum Point Property Owners Association, that the funds raised by the special district tax be expended solely for the purpose of road improvements, infrastructure related to the roads as approved by the Calvert County Department of Public Works, administrative and maintenance costs and expenses associated with the roads and road infrastructure as set forth in a separate agreement. And we need to amend that to include erosion, because they do have current erosion issues on the beach and stormwater management issues that they have identified in their petition at Perrin Drive, Buckler Drive, Pine Place, and Cree Drive. Number 4, that the proper capital expenditures funded by the special district tax shall be paid upon submission of an invoice by the association and approval of an invoice by the county. That the proper administrative and maintenance costs and expenses of this special district tax be initially funded from the unexpended funds of the existing Drum Point special district tax, and that the unexpended funds be carried forward. So before we get into public comment, I am joined today by the president of the association, who would like to present the petition to the board.
Good evening. My name is Mike Snap. I'm the president of the Drum Point Property Owners Association, which is a totally volunteer board and organization. We've got some of our board members here. I wanted to start off by thanking the commissioners for being here and for hearing this, President Hance and the rest of the commissioners. I want to thank Mr. Norris and his staff, who've given us a lot of help and guidance in preparing for the STD. I wanted to thank the Public Works folks in Calvert County. We met with them back in September, and they gave us guidance on details about roads and maintenance and so forth, and requested some information which we provided to them. I want to thank our treasurer, Jack Andre, back here in the audience, who's done a lot of work in helping prepare our budget, keeping track of what our funds have been and what we're going to need for the next 5 years. And then in special thanks to our resident manager, Rhea Webster, who makes sure we all do our job right and get all the information out. And she's done a lot of work in preparing and getting us ready for the petition and for the STD. Okay, we provided you a handout. It's in the back. I didn't know if we'd have visual aids or not, but we just do it by the handout. So I'll kind of refer to that. I'm not going to go through it line by line, but it kind of summarizes the petition that we filed in October 2021 to start preparing for the STD 7. Mr. Norris already explained the background on why we have an STD. It relates to the county code, Title IV, special taxing districts, and he outlined what it's for. But just to restate that, roads and streets and maintenance and so forth, and that's the biggest emphasis area for us is the roads and streets. Lakes and canals, not too much for us, where there's a little bit of issues with drainage occasionally, and that enters into the equation. And then other community-wide amenities, and I'll address that in a few minutes. Okay, just for those of you who are not aware, you'll see if the STD is approved, and for whatever amount, you'll see that appear in your county tax bill. So it's a separate line item in there that you'll see, and that's how it's actually collected. So the county has oversight on the collection, and the county also has oversight on the funds. This is not something that Rhea and I or our board just decide willy-nilly on what we're going to spend it on. We provide the budget. If to the extent the budget's approved, then our expenditures are overseen and approved by the county. So that really gives you a check and balance on how these funds are expended. We can't go off and have a party on it. So Mr. Norris referred to the history of the STD. It goes back quite a ways. It's been a high of I think about 198 and a low of 50. The 50 happened because there was excess funds, and the county wanted us to amend the STD back in the FY 10 through 12 because we had excess funds, so they reduced it for a time. The last one was 115, and we are asking for 175. Now there's a proposed budget chart in your handout, and that goes through. First, it compares the last STD, the one we're currently on, number 6. What we did there was we show you what our total expenditures were for the STD 6 period, which goes from 17 to 22, those 5 years. The total expenditures were $782,000, almost $783,000. Most of that, and you'll see in the chart, most of that is for our paving and rejuvenation of our roads. We have about 15 miles of roads in the community, and our plan is to essentially pave or rejuvenate 1 mile of those roads each year. And that's the schedule we've been on. And that, by the way, that schedule and the plans for that are laid out by a road engineer. In fact, the last 2 of them, our project managers for this, are certified road engineers. And so we have very good oversight on what we're doing with that money and how that money is allocated to the paving and the priority on the paving, et cetera. So I think we're in good hands on that. It also shows then the proposed STD 7 expenditures. And again, this is over the full 5 years. So you have to kind of mentally divide that by 5 to get to each year cost, and then divide that by about 1,200, which are the number of billable residences we have. And so if you look at that, I'll just kind of highlight some of the things. People ask, well, how much are we spending on admin? Well, for the STD, we spend a little over $22,000, but that's only for an audit, and that's required by the county to audit our expenditures and our funds every year. So that's about the only admin expense that we put into the STD. Then we have some line items like just maintenance of our unpaved right-of-ways. That's part of the extension of the road along each road in the community has about on the order of about a 10-foot right-of-way on either side. It varies a little bit depending on the location of the road. But that's to maintain that and keep it clear. Then, you know, there's a big chunk of money we have to budget for snow removal. We've been lucky the last couple years, but we got hit twice this year, and it's on the order of about $25,000 each time. We have to pull the plowers or the salt trucks or whatever out. So, and we have to budget based on what we think may happen. We've been, you know, we were about half of that for the last 5 years. But, you know, is it going to stay that way? Who knows? And then we have some additional right-of-way maintenance. Another big item our big change was for street lighting. Prior to, what was that, about 3 years ago, the county actually paid for our street lighting, and then informed us that they could no longer do that, so it was going to be up to the community to pay for the street lighting. So that's why that increased from $4,000 to $73,000 over the 5 years. Again, the big chunk is the paving. It'll be about $670+ thousand. Another one is stormwater management. And that's another one we can't. You have to sort of pull out the crystal ball and try to predict what that's going to be, and you have to look at past year averages. But that, again, that's a big function of what kind of storms we have and how many and how bad they are and what that does to our roads. Okay, then the other one that's a new item and was mentioned earlier was the question of erosion. We have a really nice community beach that's open to all of our owners, all of our community. We're seeing that beach subject to more and more erosion. Part of it's due to the fact that up current from us, north of us, over the years have been allowed to be jetties and groins that tend to kind of block the sand from coming down to us. And then if we get strong currents or wind or driven situations or storm surges, we can see our beach start to erode. And that's what's happened. There used to be an old road bed through there, and we've had cases where that road bed has been completely exposed again because the sand is washed away. So we've worked with an engineering firm that's done a lot of the engineering work up the Potomac, up around Swan Point, over at the base, Hog Point, where you see these areas where there's a rock structure built out to help protect and build the beach behind it. And that's essentially what they've designed for us, is a spur that would kind of go out in front of our beach and help protect the beach and help hold the sand or help let sand accrete behind it. So that's what that, and what we've done is on that is we have enough in the reserves to fund over half of it. But we're asking for about $60,000 of that to be put in the STD. Now, it turns out that sounds like a lot of money, but if you look at it on a per lot basis, that's about $10 a lot. So that's a valuable community asset. That beach has been estimated as worth well over $90,000 to the community. It's probably more than that, but that's, you know, just on a back of the envelope calculation. So we believe that's a valuable resource to protect for the community, and we believe that it falls within the amenities that the STD could be used for. Now, I will say that we also have applied for a state grant through DNR. They sounded fairly positive, but you never know. And on top of that, we won't know until probably later this summer whether we get any or all of that grant. So what we did was we amended the petition with Mr. Norris's help and said, okay, if we do get any of that grant, we would like the county to be able to reduce the STD by that equivalent amount. And we believe that's okay. So that's the amended portion of the petition. Another thing I would add is that the STD does a couple other indirect things for us. One is, and don't ask me why, I don't know all of the background on this, but if we have that kind of funding with the county, it makes it much easier for us to get FEMA help if we have any kind of a natural disaster or bad situation in the area. And also makes us eligible for state highway funds, the SURE funds. It's not a big pot, but every little bit helps. So that makes us eligible for that. So that's another reason that the STD, I think, is valuable to the community. I give you some numbers here, but just people ask about, well, what is this money? How does it compare to what other people spend? Well, I can get now, and this is apples and oranges. But if you go look at condo association fees, you're looking at these kind of money every month, not every year. You can look at averages, and I gave you average numbers in there, but our total assessment funds, covenant funds, and STD funds for a fully developed lot is less than $350 a year. So compare that to some of these, the ranch estates, $275 for the STD, and about $500 for other fees. So I think it's very reasonable, and I hope people will agree that we keep the community in pretty good shape, and the STD is a large part of that. Any questions from the board?
Yes, sir. I heard you say a moment ago that you've got roughly 1,200 fee billable residents. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, how many lots is that? Because I was under the impression that this was billable by lot, not resident.
Well, it is, but what I meant by that was collectible lots. You never get 100%. So I think between us and the county, we, try to determine how much is the collection.
How many
Collectibility.
residents are on multiple lots?
Pardon me?
How many residents are on multiple lots, I guess is my other question, what I'm trying to get at.
Rio, do you have any idea?
Please come to the microphone.
Oh, there's a mic up there.
There are about 1,600 lots, and it varies a little over the years because people combine lots, so now you've lost one. But there are 47, 48 lots now owned by the association, not subject to the STD. There are 17 lots owned by the Drum Point Club, not subject to the STD. There are, I think, 77 lots owned by the Land Trust, people donate, not subject to the STD. So, subtracting those is, I think it's 1,200 and some billable lots. It's on the actual petition and budget that we submitted, which is not what this is. But it has the number of billable lots. And then we figure, I think, 80% collection rate, which I believe is what the county uses as an estimate for budgeting.
The reason why I was asking is I was looking at this, for example, you said 1,600 lots, you started doing some quick deductions, which put me in the mid to 1,400 range, which leads me to believe that there's probably at least 100 to 200 residences that are on multiple lots. Would those be billed for the residents, or if a person has a home that's built on 3 lots, are they going to pay this fee 3 times?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's identified as 3 separate lots by the county, then that's billed 3 times. And I think you're right. I think it was 1,400 and some billable. That's a lot of numbers in my head, but I think it was 1,400 and something that are billable lots, doing that subtraction. There's
Right.
1,200 residents.
1,200 residents, roughly 1,400 and something,
Correct.
mid-1400s. I was
Correct.
doing the math quick, you were going through the numbers. So
Sorry.
It's all right. I was just trying to figure out ultimately how many would be billed once versus 2 or 3 or
Correct.
maybe even 4 times.
There might be one person that owns 4 lots.
Right,
I can't. There are a couple that own 3 and several that own 2.
gotcha. Thank you.
So, all right.
Anything else?
As I was going through and looking at your graph, it seemed like most of the previous years of STDs were between 2 and 4 years. Why are you guys looking for 5 this time?
That was the last one. That was what the county had set up, it was 5 years. Yeah, some of the older ones were less. And then, like I said, we had that one case where it was amended midstream and reduced, because of excess money that was in the Drum Point funds.
Per year with the new assessment? What's is it somewhere around 85,000?
Are you talking about the STD? Well, it's in that chart, 700 and some thousand over the 5-year period. No, I'm sorry. It goes. That was our actuals over the last 5. The projected is 1,090,000.
So just shy of, never mind.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so there was a sign-up sheet as you came into the room, and we'll ask for those on Zoom if they wish to comment. But we're going to start here in the room. We have those who are speaking as an individual. Actually, everybody that's signed up is speaking as an individual. Just be aware that the county commissioners have adopted rules of procedure for public hearings like this. A copy of those is in the back. It's Resolution 6-89. We ask you to please represent well Calvert County, and no applause, no clapping, poster boards, etc. And I'm probably going to mess up a few names, but we'll ask you to come to the microphone in the center of the room. Samantha will keep time. She'll let you know when there's 30 seconds left of your time and when your time is up. So Maggie Johnson is the first speaker.
Good evening. I'm a member of the DPPOA board, and I just want to say that I'm in favor of it, and I believe the commissioners to also be in favor of the petition.
Sorry, we are recording this and broadcasting it on the county's YouTube channel, so if you have not already subscribed, please do. Bonnie Blades is the next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Blades, and I've been in Drum Point since 2006, so roughly 15 years. And I've been very impressed with this very small community and how well it has been run. One of the things I noted is that as a small community, it's very wonderful that we're able to take care of our own responsible needs for our roads and our snow removal and such, because we are not on the road to anywhere. And I think we would be low priority if we didn't have the opportunity and right to manage our own affairs. As it is, we're our own priority, which is number 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mary Herlbert.
Hi, I'm a newer resident of Drum Point. I've lived here about 5 years now, and I just want to say it's a a beautiful community. I moved here from New England. It's a beautiful community. It is well-run, and my husband and I are certainly in support of this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack Andre.
Well, I too am in favor of this. I'm on the board, I'm the treasurer, and we do make great efforts to be very careful with community funds. I think we've done a pretty good job. If you have a look at our roads, I think our roads look pretty good. All our other amenities look pretty good. We keep them up. It'd be nice if we could maintain the beach. I hate to see it lost. It's valued at about $90,000 on our in our books, so we hope to keep it that way. The other point Mike mentioned was this makes us eligible for state highway user revenue and funds from FEMA should hurricane hit. That happened, I think, with Isabel 20 years ago now, I guess. But it was very important to recovery. And I'd hate to see Drum Point lose that opportunity, but the county as well. I mean, that is money that otherwise would not be coming to the county. So for many reasons, I think it's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony, and I'm sorry. We have to do this more often than every 5 years.
I'm quite
Thank you,
used to
sir.
that. I'm Tony Spakauskas. I'm also a resident of Drum Point and the vice president of the Community Association. I also obviously support the proposal. I think it's very important that we have it primarily for FEMA and the highway user fees that we collect from it. But there are also a couple of other things. One is if we get this particularly this year, it'll help us maintain the beach. The beach is a community amenity which adds to the property values in the community. The property values add to the tax values. It benefits everybody, benefits us, and it benefits the community. I urge you please to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Alicia? I'm sorry.
My name's Elisa Ananaya, and I would like to first echo what Mary said. I am very new to the community, and I love it here. I can't imagine that I haven't lived here my whole life, but I'm glad I'm here now. And I love Drum Point. I've attended the community board meetings, and I've been impressed every time with the due diligence, the transparency, and the way that they look out for us. And I urge you, please, to look at this carefully and approve it, because all of what has been said is true, and the beach is wonderful, and our community is too. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ralph is the last person who signed up to speak here in person, and if anybody on the Zoom would like to raise their hand, or if you're calling in by Zoom, that's *9 to raise your hand.
Yes, I'm a resident of Drum Point, been here for about 10 years, love the area. I support this STD tax to help us sustain and maintain our community. By having this STD, we can control the funds and put it to proper use and what we think it is going to be. Also helps us in this STD, it's also funds for improving the beach, which I know the county is not going to do anything to help us on eliminating the erosion, so it does give us some control on doing that. And the other reason for the FEMA, if we have a disaster, if we don't have an STD, I understand it's very hard to get FEMA funds. So this STD makes sense for our community and to help us sustain and maintain our control. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see that Dina Claiborne has raised her hand, and I don't know if anybody on the phone call. Thank you. So Commissioners, that wraps up the public comment. It's at the board's discretion whether you wish to accept a motion tonight or leave the record open. We have prepared a motion. I would note that Part B of that motion should read $175, which is the request of the Homeowners Association for the first year. And if they get the DNR grant for the shoreline work, that would go down to $165 for the remaining 4 years per lot per year. You are.
So, Andrew, has Commissioner Weems been able to link in? Yes. Excellent. Just want to check on you, make sure you're with us. So are there any questions, any other discussion by the board?
So typically, I always go first at these. And I'll be probably the most unpopular guy in the room today. So and I agree with everything you said. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous place. I grew up there, so I'm partial. Most of the roads were dirt when I was a kid. And it's done a fantastic job. But I don't think the STD is a long-term solution. I think it's a Band-Aid. I always have. I remember sitting at the one for the Ranch Club, the very first one, and they said, this is going to be for 5 years. It's been over 20 years. There's a fear that the county would let it fall in the ground, in the ocean. No, it won't fall in the bay. We will always make sure we get ambulances back there, buses back there. And I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but as we've seen, you folks do a remarkable job, and the boards before have done remarkable jobs. I've had the honor of knowing all these volunteers doing this. But as time goes on, we're seeing less and less folks volunteer. And one day my fear is, what if nobody steps up to the plate to do the work that you're doing? Then what? You know, it's a valid question to think about long term. We and I was talking to someone earlier. We used to be the last. We were the last volunteer all fire and rescue EMT county in the state. Well, now we have paid crews. It's just getting harder and harder for folks. People work 2 jobs now. It's getting harder. So I don't think it's a long-term solution. Is it a lot of money per lot? $60. No. You break it down per month, it's $5, right? So on the small side of that. But it's to me, I try to create a sense of urgency. Whatever resources we have here, the door is wide open. But to somehow, I think we have 3 roads. John, is that correct?
Sorry.
We have 3 Drum Point roads the county maintains now. Is that
I
correct?
believe that's correct. 2 or
So
3.
White Sands would get a road, close to whatever, and then turn it over. And eventually the whole place went that way. And where I'm going is there's so many communities in this county. They still maintain their private beach, their private clubhouses and stuff. The county maintains those roads. Now, I can tell you, the county doesn't want to. I've been here for almost 8 years. I've never seen anybody go, hey, we want to spend more money. But I feel my end of the street down here is just as important as anywhere else. And you guys pay taxes, just like the CRE does, and everything else. You pay taxes like everybody else. And to me, it doesn't feel like it's private like it used to. Especially you go to CRE, there's no gates anymore. Anybody can drive up and down your roads. They can do anything. So I agree with the amenities staying private if you wanted to do, but I don't think long term that, okay, this year maybe this time it's $50, $60, maybe next time it's more. Prices of goods are not getting any cheaper. I just don't see it as a sustainable way. If a 911 call goes out, that ambulance is going to get there. So whatever we have to do to make it happen, it will get there. And if we knew a crystal ball that you folks were going to be here for 200 more years, and making sure everything was there, maybe that would ease my fear a little bit. But it's I don't want to say it's principle. It's not that. It's just I don't believe that it is. I just think it's a Band-Aid. I really do. I just don't see it as a sustainable fix. I remember as a kid, all the guys were volunteers. Mr. Burns used to drive and to plow all the time, and some young lady said it right. Fears about being lower on the pole. That has been ever since I was a little kid. It has always been kind of, we were the furthest away from everything, so when it got there. But that's not the case anymore. You know, the county, we're not as small as we used to be, so to speak. We have a lot more facilities. We have a lot more machinery out there. And like I say, I know I'll probably have more darts thrown at my picture tonight, but I just, so many times with different things, I worry about the whole picture of it. And I know probably a lot of people say, Mike, you're crazy or what have you, but I remember it when we were dirt roads. I remember when it was one bus picked up Drum Point, Ranch Club, and Cove Point. It's grown a lot. It's changed a lot. But I just think the dollar down here spends just as good as it does anywhere else in the county. And it's always been my belief in that, and that maybe John says something different legally of how things written or whatever, but that's just been my my take on that, so.
Everybody for coming out this evening, and from everything I've heard, it sounds like I might want to move down there because, you know, I've never heard 100% of comments come in raving about the community they live in without a single complaint. So kudos for you guys taking care of that stuff. I absolutely appreciate where Commissioner Hart is coming from. As I asked when I first came in, I said, why doesn't the HOA, and I asked lady back here, why doesn't the HOA take care of this themselves? The answer was quickly, well, we can, but we, at that point, aren't allowed to get FEMA funding or grants or whatever the case, and I understand that there was an issue where you guys got 80% federally funded on one of the things. My only pause on this is looking back on the history since '97. You've had 1 2-year, I'll call them eras. You had 1 2-year area, 2 3-year eras, 3 4-year eras. Now you're looking for a 5-year. I don't like the 5-year myself personally. That's a long time, and a lot of things can change in that 5 years. You may find out that the 175 is not enough. You may find out it's too much during that 5 years. I personally would be a lot more comfortable with a shorter term. I'm not opposed to the big picture, but I just don't like the 5-year term.
And if I could add, I'm sorry, so don't get me wrong, the STD, until we have something else, has to stay in place, so I'm not saying that, but I'm just talking about the increase, because the FEMA funds are correct. That is the #1 priority in the room with that. So the STD has to stay in place until another better solution comes along. But what part I'm speaking to is just the increase itself. So be clear about that.
Yeah, I would just like to say you're very fortunate that you have people in the community that are stepping up to the plate and doing the things in the community. And it takes a lot of money to do these things. And we've had unprecedented storms and snowstorms and windstorms, and I know how much the cleanup costs. And I think the fee that you're asking for is very minimal for the quality of life that everybody got up to the speaker and talked about. It's very minimal, and I think it's everybody's happy with the work that you're doing, and I'm okay with it.
Would the
need
HOA
a motion.
consider a shorter term than the 5 years? Is that even possible to ask that question, or is it appropriate, Mr. Attorney?
Could answer that question as a board without having a meeting in accordance with their own bylaws.
So,
It may be an opportunity to leave the record open and we could have further discussions.
so for me, you know, this HOA has shown that they're very effective, and the community truly respects the decisions that they make. And if this board, this HOA believes that they want a 5-year term, you know, I don't have any issue, because, you know, they've got a proven history here that they take care of themselves. And from the history, they've made adjustments. when they were collecting too much money, they did step in. So it's not locked in for 5 years. You know, it's just, it's a starting point. And like you said, if they come to a point where they don't think it's enough, they may come back and want to make an adjustment to raise it, or they may come back and make an adjustment to lower it. But, you know, for me tonight, I respect the decision that the HO made. That's just my 20% or 25. Yeah. Commissioner Weems, you have anything to say?
Commissioner Weems, you're welcome to make a motion, or would you like me to read one that you could say so moved? Okay. Is there an amount you wish to convey in this motion? Okay. So your motion could be that I move that we close the record and approve the petition of the Drum Point Property Owners Association, Inc., and direct staff to prepare an ordinance and an agreement to extend the Drum Point Special Tax District upon the following terms. The term of this Drum Point Special Tax District be extended to June 30, 2027. That the annual levy upon lots represented by the Drum Point Property Owners Association be $175 for at least the first year, excluding those lots owned by Drum Point Property Owners Association. For the subsequent years of this special tax district, it would be lowered by $10 per lot per year if there is an approved Department of Natural Resources grant for the shoreline erosion. Next, that the funds raised by this special tax district be expended solely for the purpose of road improvements, infrastructure related to the road as approved by the Calvert County Department of Public Works, drainage and beach erosion projects as identified in the petition, and administrative and maintenance costs and expenses associated with roads, the infrastructure, the drainage, and the beach erosion is set forth in the separate agreement. Next, that proper capital expenditures funded by this special tax district shall be paid upon submission of an invoice by the Drum Point Property Owners Association and approval of an invoice by the county. Next, that the proper administration and maintenance costs and expenses of this special tax district be initially funded from the unexpended funds of the existing Drum Point Special Tax District, and the Drum Point Property Owners Association may seek reimbursement quarterly for proper administrative and maintenance expenditures by submission of a paid invoice to the County Department of Finance and Budget. And next, that unexpended funds of the current Drum Point Drum Point Special Tax District be carried forward for expenditure pursuant to the terms and conditions of this Drum Point Special Tax District.
He did.
I'm going to second it.
So I have a motion and a second, and I'm not going to repeat that motion because that's the longest motion I've heard in my 4 years being on this board. I can surmise that we're going to close the record, extend the current STD at a rate of $175 for 5 years, and if a DNR grant is received, the rate would be reduced to $165 per year for 4 years. So I think that gets us close enough to where we need to be for the record. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. 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 Commissioner Weems is aye. All those opposed? So motion carries. So to conclude, I just wanted to say to all of you, I want to thank the leadership of the HOA and all of you that belong to this community. You know, it's not, my only STD hearing prior to this was at the Ranch Club, and I can assure you it didn't go as well as this one did tonight. And, but it shows that you all care greatly about your community, and that community is part of Calvert County. So for me, as a Calvert County citizen, I appreciate greatly that you take care of your little piece of Calvert County for all of us. And as Commissioner Gadway says, I've got to come down and visit because I haven't spent much time in Drum Point, but it sounds like such a wonderful place that we all should come down and give a visit one day. And again, I want to thank you all because it's not easy leading an HOA, and having all your community members come out and support you is quite an accomplishment. So on behalf of all of us, I want to thank you for what you do. And I guess the only thing I need is a motion to adjourn.
Try that again.
I tried this earlier today, and it didn't work so well for me, so I'm going to try it again now. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we adjourn. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You all have a great evening.